Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, here with Joe Palke. We're going to talk about kids. He's actually a teacher and a coach, and we want to tap into that, the insight that he has, and also a collector and a former collector, and as we were joking, an early reader. And I learned to read. I learned a lot of math from the back of cards, and I hope the next generation can jump into collecting, as it seemed like everybody in my generation and Joe's generation did. But first, thanks sponsors: Topps, Panini, Upper Deck, Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, ComC.com, Burbank Sports Cards, Mike's Stadium Sports Cards, Heritage Auctions, and Huggins & Scott Auctions. All fine sponsors. They want kids coming to the industry as well. So Joe Palke, welcome, teacher and coach. How should the hobby do that? What success have you had with your students? And what advice do you have for the card companies and others, how we can get some more kids in here?
I don't know how we're going to do it, but one of the things I know is it's awfully expensive to start getting in the industry right now. I take my daughter, she's 7 years old. She's just getting into cards. She loves ripping the cards open and she loves touching them, but it's hard to hand her a pack that's $50 and say, hey, open that up, but be very careful, even though you're 7. When I was a kid, it was a quarter, nickel, something like that. You're ripping a pack, and if one got bent, it got bent. It wasn't that big a deal. And I was talking with my kids at school, and I was in a math class this week. I just had to sub, and we were talking about prisms, rectangular prisms. And just to lead it off, I just had a joke, and I'm like, and everybody knows that the silver prism is the most important basketball card. And there's 15 kids in the class. 14 of them looked at me like I was the craziest guy there is. They know I'm the gym teacher most of the time. And one kid goes, finally, somebody understands me. And he was the only kid that even knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, 1 out of 15 doesn't sound very good, Joe, but at least we got one. And to me, it can be a solitary hobby, but it's so much more enjoyed with a group, like in your neighborhood and in your pack of kids you ran around with. And I think you had the same experience when you're growing up. Probably almost everybody was collecting. You were it was 14 out of 15 that collected and one that didn't, not the other way around.
Absolutely. When I was in school, we were Kirby Puckett, Ken Griffey Jr. Those were the guys, and everybody could talk about it. You bring your cards to school, we're trading, and probably wasn't supposed to do that, but we did. That's what we did as kids. We were out at recess, we were showing cards and things like that. And now I don't think I would send my daughter with a Zion Williamson or anything like that to school. I just don't think that would be a smart decision.
I'll take that right now. Trust your dad to send that in for grading or something. But so you're saying the kids are still familiar with the sports celebrities of the sports that they track some of the sports and they know who the stars are. Are you saying that? They just connect with the card aspect?
Some kids are, unfortunately, some are not. We get more and more people who want to be YouTubers than be basketball players. I think that was every kid's dream growing up, was being, the next NBA star, Major League Baseball star. Now they want to be YouTubers and things like that, it's fine, and that is. But I think one of the reasons why we like sports as much as we did was because we had the cards. We had something tangible we could hold on to, and it had a picture of who it was, and that was the guy we wanted to be.
One of the things about sports that I liked as a crucible for life is that you find out whether you won or you lost. In YouTube, if you're a YouTuber, I guess you can just edit, or you can, some of the trick shots in basketball and things like that. They didn't do that on the first take.
Absolutely.
YouTuber. Right. But if you want to be good at sports, you've got to practice. You got to pay your dues.
You got to put in the time.
And if you do that, if you spend a lot of time in a sport, I think you'll greater appreciate the amazing abilities of some of the guys we're talking about who are just Kirby Puckett. I think if you walked up to him on the street, he's dearly departed now, but back in the day, I think he looked more like a football player or a bowling ball than an amazing outfielder.
He was. I've met him.
He didn't fit the profile.
He was short.
Exactly. Yeah. But some men could really relate to that, I think.
Absolutely. I remember going to see him. We were World Series in '91. I was at the games, and he hits the home run, and everybody was we stayed around for 20 minutes after the game just cheering because it was so great. And then you see him in the street, and you're like, he did that? And I'm like, I feel like I could do that if he could do that. It was something that he really believed.
Okay, but as we're talking, hockey's done now, and there's a lot of hockey in Minnesota. Football is going. Basketball is over now. Baseball is essentially over, almost over.
Yeah.
As we're doing this, are the kids talking about any of those in your class?
Not really. Basketball was the biggest thing, but it wasn't really that big. Hockey is more of a high school thing in Minnesota. I know there's still a lot of Wild fans, and there's a few. And there's definitely the kids who really like hockey, and they're the hockey players, but it's not every kid. And baseball,
are we kicking the problem upstairs to say that not only are kids priced out of the hobby, they're priced out of the sport?
I think there's something to that. I remember going to games and it was like, I remember when I was even in college, Twins had an 81 game package for $81. Yeah. And so you go, and it was upper deck. It was great. But now cheapest seats, $10-15.
Yeah. I paid $1 to sit in the end zone for the Cowboys in the long time ago.
But that's not last week.
Not last week, but but I think if the kids don't track with the sport, it's hard to say, hey, go buy some cards and you're going to get these cards that you're going to really enjoy, unless they can relate to the players. And so I think Major League Baseball, well, all of them need to have an organized push to engage this younger group.
True. And I think they can, but I still think you can watch it on TV. There wasn't as many games on TV back then as there is now. But we still watched them because that was what we watched. And I think that a little bit is there's too many options for kids. Yeah. But we wanted to be those guys, and we collected their cards. And I just don't see it right now as kids. We see them collecting Pokemon or whatever it is cards in school rather than baseball cards.
Do you think kids are, it depends on the demographic, but do you think kids are, and again, I'm supposed to be the price guide guy, but I don't think it has to be a financial hobby, but there are opportunities to make money. Are the kids that you're dealing with, do they have any sense of the value of $1, or thinking that, hey, I could buy this for $10 and sell it for 20 and I could actually make extra money? Or is that not even an issue? Because if anything you would have bought in 2019 and tried to sell in 2020 probably doubled in price.
True. The one kid who he is collecting, or he was the collector, I mean, he's selling stuff, but he was the only kid that even knew about baseball cards, really. He was it.
When I look back and I think I want to get in a time machine and go back, which you can't do, even though there's TV programs about that, but because there were kids that were collecting in my neighborhood that cared, they just did it because everybody was doing it. And I could have bought up their cards because they just didn't care. Okay. Yeah. So there could have been 15 people. A few of them collected, but most people got rid of their cards. And I never really thought about that because I just had my own cards. But you're 1 out of 15. If there were other people that were collecting cards that no longer wanted them, maybe they'd give them to him or sell them to him for cheap. But it sounds like the other 14 don't even, it's not even on the radar at all.
It isn't. They literally they did not know anything about the baseball cards I was even talking about, or basketball cards. It was like they had never even heard of the subject. Which was it. But I also go look at Target and Walmart, and I can't buy a card there. They're off the shelves right now.
Well, what they have is not what you want, if they have anything at all. Or
true.
Basketball, I don't know if there's anything, period. Panini has just announced that they're going to have this Kids Crate, which is a pre-set group of cards in a box that they're going to send to kids that are 14 and under. And it's going to be they're not going to send it to kids. I think they're going to make it available to card shops. And the card shops, I don't know if the card shops are going to pay $100 or something, but it's a sealed box, but it's got a blaster and a mega. It's got 2 or 3 different unopened kinds of things and some other swag. And if the card company gets it for $100, maybe they're marking it up a little bit. So it's not supposed to be losing money, but you wonder if it's a good deal, are the parents not going to pounce on it? Or I'm buying it for my 13-year-old son, and he's not here with me right now, but I promise to take it right to him. That'd be hard to police.
Yeah, it would be. I'll tell you right now, I'd bring my daughter because she loves ripping cards. She thinks it's great. She takes my cards and she's going in, she's finding the Vikings, she's finding the Twins, and she goes and finds her cards that she wants, and she's got her little binder and she puts them in, and she thinks it's great. She'd be in the card shop in a heartbeat.
Well, then that may happen. Do you think is $100 too big of a price point if it's got even if it has $100 worth of value, it's got 3 or 4 packs, it's guaranteed to have an autograph, it's guaranteed to have some game used, and it's got some other swag. But do you think $100 price point, I don't know if it's quarterly, I don't think it's monthly. So say it's quarterly, something comes out. Does that strike you as being not as enticing enough for kids that it needs to be $20 or $50 or something?
I think as soon as you get to that $100, now you're talking about investment. And at that point in time, I think you're going to have the adults jump in on that because it is it is an investment. To me, I would rather have, for a kid, I'd rather have some really cheap cards for $20 and just get to open a bunch. That's the fun. That's my favorite part still, that's why I sell cards, is because I want to open more. I like opening cards. We're pretty involved with the Cards for Kids movement that was established a long time ago. There's competitors to it, but basically you send them the cards and then they take them to hospitals or boys and girls clubs or things like that. So they're not necessarily in packs and they're not necessarily superstars. There's probably a few good cards in there, but some of them are junk wax and just stuff that somebody doesn't want, maybe get a charitable donation for it.
But it just seems to me some of the kids, if they're savvy, they're concerned these are rejects. These aren't cards that somebody else wanted. And so they're like I've said before, the little kids want what the big kids want. And they're being educated to see that if it's not autographed or game used or serial numbered, then it's, or a rookie card, it's ho-hum. So how do you defeat that?
I don't know. I think part of it is getting more of your local team in a pack. So I don't know how you do that from a Panini or a Topps, but have all the kids packs have plenty of cards from Minnesota if I'm in Minnesota, or have them if you're Dallas based. I'm not saying you can't have other people, but have the local teams, because that's where we're at. That's the people we see.
Okay.
So, my daughter, she knows the Twins. She loves them.
Okay. So regional and maybe some kind of tie-in with Little League or Pony League or different things. But again, but Panini's idea, I think, is multi-sport, because they have basketball, football, and baseball that they do, and soccer. So I think they're going to have a little bit of everything, and I'm not sure that's the best approach from what you're saying, unless it was all Minnesota teams.
Yeah, I like just pick a sport and somewhat regional based.
So if they don't like the sport, what are the cards going to mean to them?
Exactly. And we have a lot of kids who don't know anything about soccer, and we have a lot of kids who don't know anything about football or baseball. And maybe they would learn a little bit, but also it could just be something they just, why am I paying for this?
Yeah. Apparently there's a lot of football players on the Cowboys that don't know a lot about football. I hate to pick on them, but they've not looked good. Like I said, following the sport and emulating some of the outstanding players is a lot of fun. And it drew me into the appreciation of the game for the sports that I played and enjoyed and followed. And if I hadn't followed a sport, then it'd be hard for me to get very excited about it. So I hear what you're saying. If the leagues and the players associations and the local teams, if the Twins had a promotion, or the
Timberwolves or Vikings,
or the Wild or the Vikings, I guess so
we do that in a heartbeat.
Maybe a better way to do it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
their favorite cards are the Twins. I mean, that's her player.
Yeah, there may be licensing considerations that make it difficult, but boy, if you really want to get kids in there, that would be. And then the kids could. Did you collect during the era when they had the police cards?
Oh yeah, I have,
because
right there.
Okay. I'm just saying that was also something where somebody could put it in the hands of a budding collector, and it wasn't about the money; it was about a connection.
And I think I work with a police officer at school, and he gives out stickers, and it's just a county sticker that has a little badge on it, and the kids love them. If you gave out a baseball card that had or football or basketball or hockey or whatever it is, and it had some kind of positive message on the back, I think that would be a great thing to do.
I hear you. I hope the card companies are hearing you too, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're gonna stop now, because I think we've filled up the cup of the listeners, especially the card companies. That Joe's got some good ideas, and we'd love to see a future generation of collectors raised up in every sport. And I don't think it's going to happen by accident. It doesn't happen by osmosis. It needs to be some intentional efforts to try to draw people into what I think is. I love sports, and collecting is just a wonderful expression of that love of sports. So thanks, Joe Palke. Thanks, listeners. I will be back tomorrow, and I'll get Joe back on one of these days, and we'll bat around another topic. So thanks, Joe. Thanks, listeners. See you tomorrow.